Hey everyone, and welcome to RUBIN'S Mind Lab, where we break down the latest research into what it really means. Ever wondered if ancient practices like yoga could help us heal from deep emotional wounds, especially for communities that have faced a lot of hardship? Well, this fascinating study dives right into that question. Today we're talking about indigenous perspectives on trauma-sensitive yoga. You see, indigenous communities in places like the United States and Canada have a long history of dealing with pain caused by things like oppression, discrimination, and colonization. This historical trauma can sadly affect their health and well-being for generations. On top of that, many face barriers when trying to get mental health support, like not having services available in their native language, geographical distance, or even the stigma associated with seeking help. So researchers are looking for ways to offer support that's not only effective, but also deeply respectful of their culture. One promising area is embodiment, which basically means how we experience being in our own bodies. For people healing from trauma, feeling safe and connected to their bodies is super important. This is where yoga comes in. It is an ancient practice that connects the mind, body, and spirit through movement, breath, and mindfulness. While yoga has benefits for everyone, a specific type called trauma-centered, trauma-sensitive yoga, or TCTSY, has been developed to help people who have experienced complex trauma. TCTSY focuses on 5 key principles: choice-making, taking effective action, present moment experience, shared authentic experience, and non-coercion. It uses gentle invitational language like "you might explore" or "when you are ready," giving people the power to decide what feels right for them. This emphasis on choice and autonomy is crucial for recovering from trauma, where individuals might have felt their sense of control was taken away. TCT has already shown positive results for various groups, including veterans and survivors of domestic violence. To become a TCT facilitator, people go through special training. This study looked at the very first group of indigenous individuals who participated in this training. The big question was how applicable, feasible, acceptable, and useful is this TCTSY training for indigenous communities in regions like the Great Plains and coastal Canada. They wanted to understand this from the perspective of the community itself. Using a community-based approach, the researchers worked closely with community partners right from the start, making sure to learn about indigenous cultures and perspectives. They participated in regular community of accountability meetings and practiced reflexivity, meaning they constantly thought about how their own biases might affect their work. They interviewed 14 people who completed the 20-hour training and 1 program mentor. These interviews were analyzed using a method called Consensual Qualitative Research, which involves a team coming to agreement on the findings through discussion. When asked about their backgrounds, many participants already engaged in practices like ceremonies, spending time in nature, meditation, and prayer. They spoke about interconnectedness with relatives and community as a key part of their way of life. A lot of them also already used movement and body-based practices, which is really interesting because TCT is all about embodiment. Many had previous yoga experience, often sought for mental well-being, but some had also found yoga to be too rigid or prescriptive in the past. Moving on to how they felt about the TCT training itself, the results were largely positive. Most participants felt the training positively impacted how they approached trauma care. They saw that TCTSY, with its focus on movement, really aligned with existing healing practices within their communities. They loved that it was a body-based approach, something that felt familiar and relevant. So many participants expressed their desire to use what they learned for both their own healing and to help their communities. Some even talked about integrating TCTSY with traditional practices, like smudging with sage, connecting with nature through land-based practices, and incorporating intentional movement into ceremonies. This shows a beautiful blending of ancient wisdom and modern therapeutic approaches. Key things they took away from the training included a deeper understanding of how trauma affects people and the incredible importance of using invitational language. This means using gentle, empowering words that give people options and respect their autonomy. They also highlighted the power of embodiment in trauma healing, saying things like, "I realized that I want to incorporate embodiment into my healthcare routine." When discussing similarities between TCT and their own spiritual healing practices, many participants pointed to mind-body-spirit awareness and the healing power of movement. They said things like, "Our people always knew that movement helped process energy, trauma, pain." However, they also noted some differences. For example, they saw TCT as being more choice-based, which is a core principle of the TCT method. Some also felt that parts of the yoga tradition as presented felt a bit colonized compared to their own deeply ingrained healing methods. The participants also offered valuable suggestions for improving the training. They suggested more emphasis on the history and philosophy of yoga, especially its spiritual roots. Collaborating more closely with elders was also a key recommendation, as was a greater acknowledgement of the ongoing traumas faced by indigenous communities today. Some felt the teaching and learning style could be more adapted, and they wished for more opportunities for continued education and social support from other TCT facilitators. Overall, this study found that TCTSY holds significant promise for indigenous communities. It appears to be applicable, feasible, acceptable, and useful as a form of trauma care. The community-based approach was vital, allowing for the program to be explored in a way that respects and integrates indigenous perspectives. The participants are eager to use these skills personally and to bring them back to their communities, showing a deep desire for healing and well-being. Now, as with any research, there are some limitations. The sample size was relatively small, with only 15 participants. So we can't say these findings apply to all indigenous communities. Also, the majority of participants identified as women, so we don't have a lot of insight into how men might experience this. The study also happened relatively soon after the training, so longer-term follow-up would be beneficial to see how the skills are actually used over time. It is also important to remember that ongoing trauma can make it challenging for people to participate fully in research, even with compensation. In the future, more research is needed to explore how TCTSY can be adapted for specific tribal nations. This would involve even deeper collaboration with community elders and a nuanced understanding of unique cultural needs. Mindfulness-based interventions have already shown success when culturally adapted for indigenous peoples, suggesting that similar positive outcomes could be achieved with TCTSY. So what is the big takeaway here? This research shows us that trauma-sensitive yoga, when approached with cultural humility and community collaboration, can be a powerful tool for healing in indigenous communities. It is not just about poses. It is about reclaiming agency, fostering connection, and honoring diverse ways of knowing and being. The enthusiasm of the participants to integrate TCTSY into their lives and communities is truly inspiring, and it highlights the importance of offering culturally relevant mental health support. What do you all think about this research? Does it make sense to you that a mind-body practice, especially one that emphasizes choice and awareness, could be so helpful for trauma healing? I am really curious to hear your thoughts and any experiences you might have with yoga or other similar practices. Let me know in the comments below, and if you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to RUBIN'S Mind Lab for more science breakdowns, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.